Hi everyone, this is Krista Moore with the Krista Moore Show. I'm excited to have a guest in studio today so we get to have a great conversation about an interesting experience that Matt Yodlanowski has been through and how you came out kind of on top of it. And I just can't wait for our audience to hear your story and we can all have takeaways and learn from this.
Absolutely, I'm honored to be here. I don't recommend going through a job loss to anyone, but hopefully over the next few minutes you can gain some good insight and hear at least one guy's perspective.
I'm just happy that you're willing to talk about it because it happens to a lot of people, whether it's to their fault or not, and being able to just talk openly and freely about that, I think is awesome. So thanks for sharing your story with us. But why don't you tell us a little bit about you, maybe a background before we dive into it?
Sure. I was that real passionate master's degree educated sports marketer who became an out-of-work radio advertising salesman in the summer of 2011 and remained calm, composed, reinvented myself that fall as an independent credit card processor. Now operate my own business and never looked back.
Okay, so I'd like to know more about losing your job unexpectedly in 2011, which was not the best time to be out of work.
The summer of 2011. So I was facing an unexpected job loss at a time where we were about to have 2 unemployed parents and 3 kids. And I was going through the job search in the summer of 2011, which, remind you, was probably the worst economic downturn of our generation.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that last scene in Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase, hand me the Tylenol.
Yeah, right.
But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I have no ill will about how it happened. The departure from one of the best, last, greatest independent radio broadcasters in America was a very good one, and it was something that needed to happen on both sides. So it was actually a blessing.
Yeah, so I'd like to break this down a little bit. I want to hear about why you think it was a blessing, and then let's talk about how you overcame maybe the disappointment, the feelings of insecurities and fears to be able to move on. So first, let's talk about that whole blessing idea. How can you say it was a blessing when you just lost your job?
Because I wouldn't be where I am today without it. What it really did is it crystallized every real true sales professional. And are you a sales guy or do you operate your own business? Well, if you own and operate your own business, you are in sales. You have to generate clients. And what it told me is if you are a true sales professional, you work for your clients. You don't work for an employer. If the clients are being served, they're going to continue to buy the product and service that your employer employs you to go out and represent. So for me, that was a good lesson learned, and I'm hoping folks can take that away today. Focus on doing the right thing for your clients within reason, and everything else sort of takes care of itself.
Yeah. And when I think about blessings, I've had to let go people over the years when I worked particularly in corporate America. And it was one of the hardest things I had to do, but it was part of the job. And I was told once that if that ever comes easy, then you need to quit because you're not human.
That's probably true. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but I will tell you that I don't know how many people, I can't even count, have reached back out to me years later saying, I know that was hard. It was hard on both of us, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
It really was. Going back to that core foundation, though, to anyone listening today that is in sales, I would highly encourage you to embrace that concept that you don't work for the employer, but yet you answer to dozens and dozens of bosses every day. I took 3 phone calls from clients on my way over here today. And if you have that mentality, you're going to be able to have value. And whenever you get let go or fired, there's a mismatch between the value that you're bringing into your employer. And as long as you can come to terms with, yes, but you're the individual that assesses your own value.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So instead of looking at the loss as I wasn't any good, I wasn't valuable, that's why I was let go, or I didn't fit anymore, or they didn't like me, they didn't want me, It's looking inward and saying, no, wait, I have value, and here's the value that I bring to my clients, and I can still use that. I can still take that and deliver on that.
I believe that to be the case, absolutely. And there was no doubt, it was fear, because employers provide income, commission, salaries, security. They also employ you to go out and do a job, and in exchange, you have benefits. Well, there was a time in my life where I needed benefits more than ever.
Mm-hmm.
My wife didn't go back to her teaching job at the church because we were having our third child, so we needed benefits. But my thought was, go finance your own benefits. If you truly are a sales professional and you answer to your clients are going to support you. The revenue you generate from your clients, you can go out and generate your own benefits. And there was some fear there, because my thought is, how am I going to replace the income? And that was probably not the right thought.
Let's talk about that fear-based thinking around the finances, because that's naturally where people are going to go. Whether you quit without a plan, like I did, or getting fired or getting let go, that fear settles in, and we're so attached to the financial component of that. Oh my gosh, I'm used to making X amount of money. I've got kids in college.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to save for retirement. What about healthcare? So we're making bad decisions perhaps because of that fear, that financial fear. How do you overcome something like that?
I don't know if you ever really do. It still stings a little bit. I'm competitive, but the way I overcame it was check the ego at the door. Like, this is the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you've got sheepskins from 2 great universities on the wall. You got a Rolodex smartphone in your wallet, and you're in the food stamp line. And that was pretty humbling, filing for unemployment insurance.
Yeah.
It's nothing that I ever really expected to be in. And I didn't want a handout. Now, politically aside, I paid into the systems, and that's what it's there for. But I wasn't interested in handouts. I was interested in a hand up. I was interested in a hand up in the competition. How can I continue to get back into the active workforce and bring value?
Mm-hmm.
So the way I handled that in terms of where does the money come from, I tried to shelve that. I tried to shelve that completely. My first thought was, how do I put myself in position to never get let go again? And the only way you can do that.
That was a protection, instant
it's
survival.
Defense mechanism.
Defense.
And there's only one way you can ensure that you never get let go or fired again, and that's to be self-employed.
Yeah, that's to be your own boss. That's scary for a lot of people. I know that I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. And so when it was my time to leave my corporate job and start my own business, I quit without a plan because my boss picked the wrong day to tell me to shut up and sit down. I left without a plan, and it was probably the happiest day of my life. Even though I didn't know what the heck I was going to do, I just felt that freedom and that independence to be and do whatever I've always wanted to be and do. And that was a wonderful feeling.
I'm sure it was liberating, but you had more courage than I did to voluntarily move.
Yeah. It was liberating, and then I went home and like, oh crap, like now what am I going to do? That felt good for the ride home.
And there's no way around it. There's financial fear that sets in, whether you're single or you're the mother or you're the husband. I mean, I was the husband, and now we have soon to be 4 dependents. So there was pressure.
Yeah.
But I tried to shelve the concern of financial fear in pursuit of just more freedom. And
I just was thinking of something, and maybe there are other people out in the audience that are similar to me in that if I'm going to do it, then I'm going to like go all out and do it, get it all over with. I have a fear of change, or I procrastinate on change. And to complete that story, I quit corporate America, but I also left my husband of 20 years shortly after that.
That's a lot of change.
So, and I sold the house, moved the house, started my own company, all within 3 or 4 months. And let me just say though, when I look back on that 16 years ago, I'm thinking, if I can do that, I can do anything.
That's where you earned your stripes,
no doubt. That's where I earned my stripes, which reminds me about something that you told me when we first met. And this is the message that I really want to send the audience today. There's 3 things that you learned that were kind of the secret to success, whether you were going to start your own business from scratch, or whether you would go back, in your same field or work for, corporate America again. What are those three things?
The first is competence. There's no doubt you have to be able to deliver the goods. You have to have the skills and competencies in the product and service that you represent, either as the owner of a company or as a rep or as an employee. There's no substitute for delivering the goods. But that's not enough today. You have to have the confidence. You have to know you know what you're doing. If you own a business, if you're employed in sales, you have to be able to acquire, generate, win, capture those clients. And confidence has to be there. Just knowing what you're doing is not enough. You have to know you know what you're doing. But what I realized, Kristen, now that I own my own operation, is that's not how you get rich. That's not how you really become successful. The third is the most important factor. I kind of call it confirmation, and it's become known for what you know. You got to know what you're doing. You got to know you know what you're doing. And then to really make it, you have to become known for what you know.
Yeah, I love that. And it's actually great advice in just structuring, what am I going to do next? So number one, you're going to go get the competency that you need in whatever field or choice or decision you make. I remember when I decided that after a lot of self-reflection and discovery, which I think you went through that yourself, like, what am I great at? What would I be good at if, what would I love to do every day if I didn't get paid? That kind of scenario. What am I most proud of? What are my gifts, my talents, my superpower? That is a really important exercise to go through up front to understand, where is the competence? And what else do I need to know that maybe I'm lacking?
Those were the first two questions that I asked myself. Was, I'm not going to live in financial fear, but this is gut check time. So the two questions that I asked myself that I think were highly, highly valuable were those 30,000 foot view questions. Number one, what am I like?
What are you like?
And that's competencies, knowledge, skills, abilities. And then what do I like? That's more the touchy-feely. What kind of lifestyle? What kind of way are you wired? And my first thought was, you know what? If I had been asking myself those questions 8, 9, 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't be in this situation right now looking for a job change. And then once I came to grips with what I felt those answers were, I went and I asked some of my best former clients. I'm month 5 now. I'm still looking for the next big thing. I'm still searching for answers. And I asked my clients to answer those questions for me. You tell me.
That's a different perspective, isn't
You
it?
tell me what you think I'm good at, what I'm weak at. What are some areas I should consider in my next career path? What are some areas you think I should avoid at all costs?
So I want everyone to be hearing this asking piece. I think that that's critical, because we can have all this head junk going on when it comes time to trying to make a big decision about a career move or how to handle a sudden loss. But to get other people's perspective is so important. We use an exercise. It's in the Race to Amazing book, and it's also in our Your 10-Year-Old Self program. And we have a reflections questionnaire, to do the personal reflections. But there's an exercise called the superpower exercise. And this is where we instruct our retreat members to text their family, friends, coworkers, asking them, what's my superpower? What is unique about me? What are the strengths that I have that are different than anybody else? And so that they can help understand themselves from other people's perspectives. And that actually lends itself to number 2, which is confidence.
I would think so. I mean, no doubt, it was an extremely humbling experience. And while the courage to ask those questions, the next most important critical part is to listen and see what the response is. I was going to some of my top former clients and saying, it's black coffee time. Give it to me straight. No cream, no sugar. You always supported me. Please help me. And that might be in the next couple hours. It might be a week from now you have an idea when you're dropping your kids off. It might be a month from now when you're going for a jog. But there's a certain amount of vulnerability and humility.
What was it like to have that mirror kind of just put right up in front of you?
It's what I needed, and quite honestly, it validated what I thought I had always been in terms of answering those questions for myself. I'm an outgoing, competitive, you don't want to say hunter and gatherer, but I belong out in front. I belong out on the streets. I'm the guy that goes out and forges that relationship, builds that rapport, asks for the sale. And that was the most nerve-wracking. I couldn't sit at a computer and work on my resume or practice interviewing skills or update my whatever it may be or talk to this hunter. Atrophy was starting to set in. And quite honestly, that's when I decided to go all in on the credit card processing industry. There was no real loss because it would get me away from the desk and get me back in front of clients.
And that's what you needed.
And that's what I needed. And every opportunity that I engaged with a potential client could lead to another opportunity.
Yeah, and you know what I was just thinking as you were describing that, Matt, is so often, even in a current role or current position, let's just say you're put in a hunter-gatherer role, but you really hate that. What you'd rather do is sit behind the computer and work on bids and quotes and talk to customers on the phone and be more of an account manager. I'm just using this as an example. So when we're talking about getting the competencies or understanding your strengths and also gaining the confidence in yourself and what you do, that personal reflection and that understanding oneself is so important, just even in your current role, so that maybe you can start doing and acting and being maybe more purposeful or enjoying what you're doing more so because you're being yourself.
Sure, confidence comes many different ways depending on the nature of your work. For me, working in a sales environment, it's real obvious. If the clients are buying from you, there's no way other than that to gain confidence.
That's the affirmation.
It's the affirmation, and it is what it is. Life is about scoreboards. If you don't believe that, then just get over it because it's the fact. So what I needed to do is I just needed to go out. I needed to go out, build my craft, build my credibility, bring on clients. And it was fascinating because I didn't have all the answers once I got into the industry. And for anybody that's changing paths and they're in a sales role, I never wanted to take those first couple clients for granted. And if they ask me a question like, wow, like you're a nice guy, but you're the new guy. Like, how do I know that the new guy isn't going to really screw this up? And working in credit card pricing, we're talking about people's cash flow.
Yeah.
Like, there's implications.
But that's where that third component comes in.
That's right.
Which is being known for what you know. And I think whenever you're referring to being known for what you know, a lot of that is branding and getting yourself out there. You call it positioning or creating those messaging. But if someone says, where should I get my credit card processing from? They know your name. When someone says, do you know an executive coach or a sales coach that can help me do this? You're the one that's being thought of, or I would be the one that's being thought of. So how do you get to that step? That third one seems to be a little bit of a challenge for some people that really don't understand business per se, or how to sell themselves, or
Well, part of it is that language they use in Business Networking International, which is giver's gain. When you help other people achieve their goals, as the electrician, as the signage expert, as the financial planner and the estate planning attorney, they're more inclined to want to help you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're not going to put their reputation out on the line and say, well, Matt sent me a great client. That's super. Now I owe him. I need to refer him. That's really not a good enough reason to speak on my behalf. I have to earn your trust. So what I always try and do is, it's a whole aspect of referral networking marketing, which has made me successful. But you have to give people a reason to believe in your competency. So what I typically do, I don't say, hey, Christy, I'd really love an introduction to like your favorite pizza joint. Okay, well, that's great. But I know 3 other people that do what you do at some level of success, and they want the same people.
Yeah.
So what I've always tried to do is I give specific examples of what I've done for existing clients.
And what impact you had.
Exactly. So don't tell me like what you do and why you want that introduction.
Yeah.
Tell me why you're worth it and how you've successfully brought solutions to somebody just like that.
And I want to talk about what you said in terms of networking and getting your name out there, starting to market yourself. And one thing that I remember doing day one in the extra bedroom of the townhouse was making a list of everybody that I ever met and that I remembered their name. I'm thinking, if I remember them, hopefully they remembered me. We had a connection, we had a relationship, there was some impact. And I made it an intentional task to reach out to them, let them know what I was doing, and ask for their support and their help. Amazing things happened. just from that asking. And I think that sometimes we forget how important those past relationships are and the network that we have. Those are the people that know you for what you know.
You would think. That was my immediate client prospect list.
Mhm.
There was no doubt. There was 85 people I could call on the spot, leave my name, and I'd get a call back. 0 of them became my initial credit card processing clients. And that was baffling to me.
Did they give you leads?
They gave you leads, referrals. What it really came down to is, no offense, Matt, but your industry is totally messed up. I don't trust anybody in that. And since you're different and you're a good, unique guy, my feeling is you're going to leave that industry within a year, year and a half. I'm not going to go through the hassle of moving all my financial stuff over to you, have you get, upset with the industry and then leave. Now,
wow.
keep me in mind down the road.
Yeah.
But
so
you're a cut, and
eventually?
yes, and over time they realize, wow, so you've actually crafted out your position in that. You've settled in. That's how you're raising your family, and you're good at it. Let's talk more about that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Great. Where were you like 5 years ago?
Well, and when I think about my first opportunity that someone gave me from asking, that was the foundation for my entire business for the next 16 years. But when I think about that person giving me the opportunity, they got me in front of a bigger audience, but they trusted that I could do the job because they had worked with me before. And sometimes we just need that little break, right? I mean, that was the break that I needed to be able to get the awareness and the exposure that I was looking for.
Yeah, we all encounter a tipping point in terms of, wow, did I make the right decision transitioning into this career path? For me, it became pretty evident. One of the reasons I wrote the book on sales success was, I still wonder, and any real good sales professional probably at some point in their career asked themselves, wow, am I any good at this? And like I mentioned before, well, if clients are buying from you, there's the validation that you need. But I was still in a new career path. And I went back to a lot of good folks and I said, man, I've got all this knowledge. I've got some of the best trainers ever. And they're like, well, write a book about it. Write a book about everything that you learned.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the book. Why don't you tell the audience about the book that you're referring to?
It was a book, came out about 3 or 4 years ago, titled I Gotta Pee. 44 path words to higher sales. Yeah. And
are you from Pennsylvania?
I am.
Because that's what we say in Pennsylvania.
That's exactly right. So it goes back to some of the heritage. I'll never forget it though. I was driving down to Charlotte to set up a new credit card processing client. I was thinking about everything I learned in the industry.
Tell me about the title. What's the title have to do with what's in the book?
2 reasons. I was driving through Davidson County and I'm jacked up. I have a bunch of coffee. I had to pull over to the rest area. And I was writing all these things that you need to know in sales: product, price, promotion, positioning. Between the Triangle and Charlotte, I wrote 53 words that come up with the letter P and why they should be important in terms of sales success.
Okay.
And then I thought, okay, that's kind of neat. How do you title the book? And then my thought was, I got to pull over to the rest stop. And then I thought, if you're trying to make your next sale and you're looking for a tip, tactic, technique, like, look elsewhere, because this isn't what the book's about. But if you want a singular defining word that can help catapult you to gaining that next sale, a pathway to gaining that contract, I've got a word for that. In fact, I have 44 of them. I call them pathwords.
And okay,
and
you got
that.
the P.
But it was a validation.
Now we're not going to forget the name of the book, so that worked.
Yes.
There you go.
And I wrote on the opening page, I said, I'm not even sure if I'm really any good at sales. Maybe you as the recipient of the book can answer that question for me. But here's everything I've learned. Good luck. Hopefully it helps you make more sales and more successful.
Great. Yeah. What other stories would you like to share with our audience that could give them some insight into what they might expect if they were at a crossroads or had a sudden job loss?
Don't let that financial fear prevent future freedom. I mean, I'm alliterative, but remain calm. When bad things happen, just remain calm and focus on how you got in that position. What events led up to this and what can be done to prevent that in the future. So for me, I didn't want to be handcuffed by the financial pressures. And when I really started to focus on who do I work for, and it came down to I work for my clients, then it all kind of fell into place. I realized, all right, what type of business do I want to go into business for myself
Yeah.
in business to business sales? And as we mentioned, I asked that question to a lot of my top clients. They gave me advice, direction. That was the fall of 2011, and I never looked back. So remain calm, ask for help, be attentive and listen. And generally, that's what it's going to take.
Mm-hmm. I was just thinking about the question and kind of thinking in my head, based on my experience and what I went through. One of the things that I learned is when I wasn't working and didn't have a plan, it was kind of quiet. You know, I didn't have to pay attention to the computer or my calendar or my schedule, and I was always on the go, 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 busy, busy, busy. But it was that quietness that I needed to really kind of pay attention to myself. And that's when I had that conversation with my 10-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what were you doing when you were 10? What do you love? What are you great at? How can you do those things and give those gifts back to the world today? And that for me was a huge lesson. And we try and teach and train, train that same thing today. You know, if you're going to work as many hours in a day as we do,
Mm-hmm.
which is a big part of our life, it's understanding what gifts we have and how we can give them back to the world, at the same time make a difference and have impact on others. And that's sometimes hard to get to without that quiet time, that real discovery and that thinking.
It really is. And this is nothing that I ever had in my plan. Operating my own credit card processing operation for going on 8 years now, right on the doorstep of turning 50. It's something that I'm very good at. It's something that I've established a good reputation with. It pays the bills. It has a strong future. But no mistake, I mean, my passion is that whole sports and sports marketing arena. But what's neat is I can turn and turn off my work as a credit card processor.
But what you were saying before is that there's certain things that are important to you, and that was your family, and that was your friends, and your freedom. Those are all F words, by the way.
That's exactly right.
And your new career path, your new business is affording you those three things. So it doesn't really necessarily need to be, kind of stereotyped by a credit card processing company. I never thought I would dream of having a credit card. No, but you're giving your talents to the world, of the relationship building, of helping clients, of helping them be better at their business, and that's what you're good at.
I've become good at it, and it's neat because I think one of the things that drew me initially to you as well is I can give some good business advice just as the credit card processor, because nothing's going to happen until somebody walks into your place of business and buys something with a credit card. So I have all that experience in advertising and marketing. Am I called to be doing this? Was this my destiny? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I'm looking too hard on myself. But when you give some advice to a client about, hey, you might want to turn the open sign on. We've been here for 10, 15 minutes. We've had two people walk past the place. Doesn't matter what kind of fees I'm charging you, nobody's coming in. Wow, like, geez. I said, yeah, like the people online that are calling you for credit card processing, they're not going to tell you that. When was the last time your banker was in here and gave you that advice?
Well, that's where you can take all of who you are, all of your frame of reference, your experiences in both the sports broadcasting and both, just sales in general, and be able to give these to small business owners. And that's what differentiates you from just being the credit card, guy.
And I believe it does. And quite honestly, I can enjoy sports just for sports' sake now. I don't have to evaluate, wow, how did that sponsorship get there? That should have been mine.
And isn't that fun?
It is liberating. It's really cool.
So you are on the right path. Well, I just want to thank you for joining us today. And I'm hopeful that many of the guests out there have gotten some takeaways and some things to think about on what you can do if you're ever faced with a sudden job loss, or need the confidence and the courage to move on into a new career path or make a new decision. I wanted to share that with our audience, some contact information. Is it okay with you?
That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
So what is the best way to get a hold of you or to reach out and connect with you?
retainedrevenue.com. It'll tell you the whole background of how I came to be. There will be 42 client testimonials on there, broken out by categories, a little bit about why I do, how I do it, and then give me a call. That is my direct cell number. I don't have an employer, but I answer to dozens of bosses. Give me a ring and I'll make sure I take good care of you.
Okay. And are you on LinkedIn? Is that a good way
I am
for
on
people to
LinkedIn
kind
as
of
well.
follow and connect with you? All right, great. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much,
Krista.
Krista.
I appreciate that. And look forward to every Wednesday at 2 o'clock when I bring great guests like Matt so that you can learn from their experiences. At K Coaching, we care about you and we care about your success. Take care.